This is the Mike LaPetri Show. Nassau County property taxes are way too high. That's why you need Reassessment and Evaluation Services, Inc., the #1 tax grievance provider that offers personal service and high success rates. Grieve your taxes now before the deadline on March 1st, 2024. Call today for more info, 516-742-5180, or apply online at reassessmytaxes.com. What's up, everybody? We have a great guest with us, Eric Alexander, director of Vision Long Island. What a cool name, Vision Long Island. I love that.
Hey, Mike, how are you? Great to be here. Thanks for being a guest. We've had the name so long for 25 years. I know you get so used to it. But it is a cool name. Some people think we're an eyeglass place, though, so I don't know.
See, for me, I'm looking at Vision Long Island. I'm just like, for me, it's just like, this is so cool to have you on and saying, like, what's going on? Why? Where did Vision Long Island even come from?
We were a bunch of Huntington residents, actually, a bunch of civics and just people in the community. We were an architect, a planner, historic preservationist, an engineer, just some people involved in development a little bit, but we're just residents of Huntington. We wanted to make our downtown better there. They had back in the 90s, and who knew, what we would do. We didn't even know we were Vision Huntington. We came together as Vision Huntington. We were trying to get the public involved in planning because everything was done behind closed doors by, people who give checks to elected officials. And
right.
And it's just, whenever anyone in a community walks out their door and sees something being built and is like, how the hell did that happen? Oh, I don't know. Who did that? And you kind of feel a little powerless. You feel out of control. You're like, well, do I have a say in what happens in my neighborhood? And that's really what we came from. If you can, but don't just be anti-everything. Get involved proactively and figure out what you want.
Well, I like that. Is exactly that. You're taking a proactive measure to step in, make a difference of what you see from a day-to-day basis in your downtown areas. You're going past your restaurants, you're going over your roads, you're seeing these different street lights, these stop signs, these crosswalks, and you're a part of all that. Yeah,
you are.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah, no, it's been a journey. I mean, for us, we have, I think we've done, we've presented about 3,500 times to communities, made presentations, but we've been to close to 14,000 meetings where we listen.
Wow.
And that's the power, is the listening.
And not a lot of people do that.
Not a lot of people do that.
We'll
go to meetings, just shut the hell up and listen.
Yeah.
And we have knowledge and information, and not just me. I mean, I'm a face a lot of it, but I've got 4 people out each week in different places and capacities. We had a 48-member board. Wow. So we can fan out. And then we have a 45-member Main Street Alliance, so there's 45 downtowns that give us information. So we kind of get a sense of, to some degree, what's happening on Long Island, not dissimilar to good news sources, and you just take it all in and you make better decisions and you get better people around you because you know what's working, what's not working. You warn people of, stay away from that. Let's not get close to that, And that's why what's your longevity is just being a few steps ahead of everybody, because you have the right intel. And you make mistakes, but you try to learn from them, Long Island's a complicated place, though. I mean, we're a community of communities.
Yes.
You know this as an elected official. There's no region. Nobody's like, your Massapequa or Farmingdale residents, your neighbors, aren't like, I'm a citizen of Long Island. I'm a citizen of the New York region.
No.
The people don't think that way.
No way.
I'm Massapequan. I'm a farmer. I'm a Daler.
This is it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with folks over, in Lindenhurst or, whatever, in Amityville.
Just not me.
It's not me.
So you really got your hand on the pulse, which is incredible. I love the fact that you'll go to just meetings just to listen, just to learn, just to hear the public comments of the different municipalities and various towns or villages in each of the counties. It really shows that unique differentiation because you go Western Nassau is totally different than Northeastern Suffolk. I mean, totally different. It's incredible to see that. And I love that how you bring that to the table. Do you provide this information to elected officials, to agency leaders, to the state, to like, where does Vision Long Island then, how do you use that knowledge and education to then better Long Island?
Yeah, good question. So we have as far as news sources, we put out a newsletter that goes out every Friday to 25,000 people. It's an e-blast of kind of a roundup of what's happening in the downtowns across the island.
I love that.
So that's number one. Number two, we have a show like that we also do. It doesn't look as cool and sports like energizing as our, but we have a Main Street News talk show that we put out, and that's usually about 5 nights a week with interviews with some folks, mostly community leaders across the island. So we get that out. So we get their voices out. So what we try to do is get the source voice, not filtered through me or our staff or our perspective. Let's lift up the civic leader or the chamber leader or the mayor. There's not enough people spotlighting the good things Long Islanders do, right? And that builds up trust. When people see someone in the community invested money in a new store, or that a new road project is actually making the road safer for pedestrians, or a new housing project is actually good for the community and it's not freaking people out. It's
right.
And it's not bringing the property taxes down. It's actually lifting their values up. And like, when people see this, so we give out these smart growth awards to spotlight these projects, and when people see the positive, that's just kind of infectious, and we're cutting against the grain because every day in these phones, we're getting 30 messages a day at least of why we shouldn't trust each other, why we should hate each other, and be divided, and feed into that extreme narrative of negativity. And what we're trying to do is counter that and saying, no, wait, there's all these wonderful things happening.
Right.
Across Long Island, and even just right, right now at the time of taping, we're in the holiday season, right? So, right around small business season, you go on these tourism promotion websites, they don't put anything up on the different downtowns. We found, just 60 communities doing shop local campaigns and tons of real fun events and things that you could do with your family. Like, who knew? You may know it if you live in that community, but if you're in Rockville Center, you didn't know how cool what's going on in Riverhead. Maybe I'll take a day trip out there, right, and check out what they're doing. Or, everybody's got something different. Winter Wonderlands, and, Santa crawls, and it's cool. I mean, you can spend your weekends just doing these things in Long Island downtown.
Yeah, exploring Long Island.
That's just positivity for the soul.
I love that. How do people? How do they get access? You brought up about those emails, the shows. How can they get a part of that? I want the viewers to know.
Yeah. So the best thing is events at visionlongisland.org is just email us. We'll put you on all the various lists. But we can also request us through our Facebook page, and I think we're on LinkedIn now too.
Instagram?
Yeah, we might have an Instagram, but I just stick to Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm old. I'm like an aging Xer, man.
Yeah.
I'm barely can manage my phone in my life, I'm not. Everybody's like, "Wait, did you do this yet?" I don't know.
Did you do your story, reels?
It's like, let's make it stop.
I love that. Well, that's great. But you're talking about those Smart Growth Awards, and just recently you just had your Smart Growth Summit, which happens every year in December. Is that right?
December. Yeah, first Friday of December.
Tell the viewers, listeners, what is this Smart Growth Summit? Because I thought it was incredible when I had the pleasure to be a part of it. It was amazing to watch and see all the different guests that you had, and then what followed afterwards. I mean, if you could just highlight for everybody what it was all about.
Thank you for asking. So we do something called Smart Growth Summit. It is a gathering of all the folks who make decisions on a local community level, right? So if you're talking about civics, we're talking about mayors and chambers, we're talking about village mayors, town supervisors, county execs, developers, architects, engineers, just local small businesses, and other corporations, some bigger corporations too, all come together on about 20 different issues that are facing Long Island, from sewers to human needs, human services, to affordable housing, to major development projects, to downtown promotion, downtown revitalization updates, transit-oriented development, transportation, energy, clean energy, wind energy.
Wow.
So we do, it's like 20 meetings at once.
Yeah.
So we literally take the best speakers that are doing stuff, not people who just talk and want to be important and blah, 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 but people who are in the field doing things. Yeah. Right? And we get them on a panel and they talk about what's actually happening in real time. What's the status of this project? What's next? What's happening in the next year? What do we need to intervene? Why is this project stuck? Whatever it is. Why are we not making the progress we need to make? Or we need more money from the states. We need more money from the feds. We need a decision to be made that's been in action for 2 years. because there's usually reasons why something's going awry, and you got to get to the bottom of it. So we put a camera on people, get on the stage, explain what's going on, and so we have for the last 15 years we've had over 1,000 people. We had 1,100 people this year. It was really big, and it's what's great is it's not, and this is somebody who works across the aisle as a Republican, right? You work with Democrats.
Yes, sir.
I'm somebody who has a left-leaning background, and I work with Republicans. And to be honest, that's the spirit in the room. Is the division isn't there. The people we're like just rolling up their sleeves looking for information.
I love it.
And that's the type of thing. And then when we're done with the summer, we write it all up. We have all the videos so people can peruse it. But we use it as a legislative platform. What do we need out of Albany? What do we need out of Washington? What are our goals for the region for the year? But see, the reason why it's different than most regional approaches to problems is because it comes from people from the bottom up. So the ideas come not necessarily from, all right, a couple handful of elites are in some back room somewhere telling everybody what Long Island ought to be, or some people out of Manhattan are telling their ideas for Long Island. These are real Long Islanders. We give out comps to this, to real community people, so that they don't have to pay the fee to get in, like the corporations do to sponsor. Thank you, sponsors. We're really glad that you're, support the civics that are there. But we have the community leaders in the room, and they help shape it. And that's what's so critical.
It's organic, bottom-up solutions.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, right? From the ground up.
That's what we need. We need more of that. People need to be heard more. And this. I've had this discussion.
Yeah.
There's a disconnect between working people and the elites that kind of pretend to rule them. Because I say pretend because they're not ruling them too well.
Yeah. Well, especially with Long Island, we don't like that. Yeah. That's not who we're about.
No.
That's not what we want. We want it where it's our communities. You were talking about it. It's not a one set mind. It's very individualized, compared from community to community, and the people want to have an approach that works best for them and their neighbors. Right here,
that's
right in Farmingdale, right in Lindenhurst, right in Huntington, right in Brookville, wherever it might be. And I find that excellent that you are espousing that mentality, but more importantly then you're following up on it through action,
right,
which is key. And you brought up about how there's a disconnect, right? And one of the things I really wanted to focus on was building up that trust and redevelopment.
That's right.
We had a big disconnect early on in the year with the state and Long Island with housing and whatnot, but I want to talk about really where Vision Long Island is focused on for redevelopment of Long Island. Where do you as an organization want to see Long Island headed over the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? What is your focus?
Yeah, so I think right now the first top three things, other than the economic needs of middle class, working class, and poor lower income folks right now, which are in massive pain, other than that, it's building up trust of the public in decisions that are made, and particularly as it relates to redevelopment, we have a lot of work to do. You mentioned the mandates that were coming out of Albany.
Right.
We had never seen, in 35 years of public life, I never saw a proposal like that was so overbearing, which for folks who don't know, is they were planning 50 units an acre around each train station for a half-mile radii that would be forced zoning. So the build out of that, I think your colleagues in the assembly, would, I think, put together some numbers that would show we double our residential population on Long Island, in a full build out. And it was defeated. 200 elected officials came out against it.
Right.
So the governor has just come out, just like a week ago, actually gave us a message at our summit to deliver that said, hey, we're not doing this for another couple of years at all, ever. So we're like, phew, all right, a breather. We have the opportunity to heal. We have the opportunity to take real steps to show that communities that plan locally will be rewarded.
Right.
That's what happens. And if you don't want change, you're not going to, it's not going to happen. We're not going to go out,
it's up to you.
It's up to the community itself decides how much change they have an appetite for. Now, that doesn't mean that communities can just say, well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to look at anything. I'm going to be completely, just stick my head in sand and pretend that the properties don't change. That, because there's been something sitting on a corner blighted for 15, 20 years that, that's just going to stay the same way it is. There's going to be changes in every community to some degree, but you can't force it on them from bigger levels of government. That has to get decided locally.
So how we build that trust then? We're still by instilling into the people that their comfort, that they don't have to worry anymore, that we are going to be focusing on that bottom up solutions, that it won't be coming up from Albany, it won't be coming up from DC. Is that really the mechanism?
I think that is. Well, I think, look, there's the Ronald Reagan adage, trust but verify, right? So it's like, yes, the governor said this. Yes, we trust her, believe her, but the other side of it is, we got to check what the legislature's doing. You never know what kind of bill, you get slipped in. So we got to watch what this legislation looks like, because there's people in the city who want to control us out here. There's regional groups, regional planning groups, and others out of the city want to control us. So we have to deal with that. But aside from those threats, proactively, we have to do things in our neighborhoods that are, when development proposals come forward, the local mayors or local planning directors should direct the developers and the civics to learn about each other. Developers should learn about the communities that they're investing in and take real part in them and invest in them beyond their project, which means, they should sponsor stuff. They should join civics and join groups and be part of the community. If they're going to be there a while, they should have a presence.
Yes.
And build those relationships and build up trust, human, face to face. The other side of it is the communities need to understand development economics, because they don't really understand why a project gets built. Why do I have so many nail salons? Or why does everything have to be multifamily housing? Well, understand the dynamics, of it. And if you're afraid of it, maybe go visit a development somewhere else by this developer. They'll arrange tours. Take time out of your life. If you feel so strongly something's bad, understand why. If you think something is such a scourge to your community, go see it in action somewhere else. And if you still feel that way when you're done touring it, maybe that's a valid feeling for you. But many people who go online and espouse strange things, they're 2 a.m. in their pajamas, they're really mad about stuff. Have they really investigated it beyond internet searches?
Yeah, and the answer is no.
If they toured a multifamily development project, have they seen, oh my God, they're going to be all these kids? I've been in 60 multifamily developments. I've not seen one child. Not seen it. So, and the statistics prove out that there's very few kids in these things. It's just not, because they're not meant for children. Not that there's anything wrong with children. It's just multifamily development is not a place, it's not like there's, playrooms and it's just not geared for kids the same way.
But then then wouldn't the name then be misrepresented?
I know.
It's not multifamily then.
I know. It's really become singles apartments.
Right.
Singles and divorcees and
Yeah, so it's not
aging.
It's more like just alternative housing.
Yeah, I guess.
Right.
Apartments.
Yeah, apartment housing.
Yeah, I mean it's you gotta think about
But now with apartments, see, this is the thing: is now with apartments, doesn't that come with portability, and therefore, are we going to still have that connection to the community?
Well, that's an interesting question.
Because now, I mean, on average, the person that is only renting, they're only there for a temporary period of time. They don't have that investment that a single-family homeowner would have. So what are your thoughts about then, does that create a loss in the community nucleus?
So here's an interesting twist. I think you got to look at the community nucleus differently. There's a life cycle of housing. When you are, when you have a family unit, you are largely in a most Long Island's in a single family home. Now, when you leave, when your kids leave, they're going to want to move into something that's not a single family home out of the gate. So they're going to move into some form of an apartment.
Right.
Now they may do it at their college town or stay away, but maybe they'll stay locally. The point is, and then they usually will come back to the community or a similar community where they lived, or maybe they like the college town or like some other place. The point is, then the next step of the stage is, okay, I'm done with the single family again, but I still for the aging Xers or the boomers, they want to stay in their community even when they're done with their single family home. So it actually strengthens the community by having another housing option.
Okay.
So you still have all those same friends. You still visit all those same shops. You still have all these same professional networks and personal networks. You just can't do this house anymore, and you need an alternative.
That's fair.
And so it actually enriches the community because, oh, no, Bob didn't have to move to Florida. He lives up the street. He lives downtown, and he's got a little more available income to go out to dinner with us more, or to go to a show, or it's like he's still in the community.
Yeah, that's
so I don't
fair.
know why people feel these transients. These transients are people who used to live in single family homes who couldn't do this stuff anymore.
Right. Well, that's fair.
That's why I never understood that whole anti apartment dwellers are evil or they're bad people or something. It's like they're your neighbors. They just if you're divorced, maybe both parents can't have the house. Maybe they got to buy another house unless you're wealthy, fine. But if you're not,
right. And nowadays,
do?
especially with the housing costs now, with the interest rates, et cetera, it's way too much. So that makes sense with this part of a life cycle. Yeah. I'd love to know. That's very interesting to see of what proportion of homeowners would be able to then transfer from their single-family home to these apartments, to these alternative housing locations. I think that would be very interesting to see the data on that. What's the numbers that show, yes, this is people from the community versus people that are coming from outside the community, and then also within how long are they staying in the community, or are they having high turnover where it's only year over year rentals versus no, these people are staying here for several years.
Well, it depends on how amenitized. What we told from the multifamily housing, I'm sure I'm going to use that term, the apartment developers that show us that have statistics to share with us. They tell us that the highly amenitized buildings that have the pool or that have the gym and have the
rec room,
the yoga studio,
yes.
and all, they all their needs are kind of met. If that works for people to stay longer, because they're kind of, it's a comfortable situation. And also, if they can get now with the post-coronavirus, with the flex time, if they can get that extra bedroom for their office.
Oh, okay.
So then they kind of, it's they're saving on office rent too. Right. So they're kind of like able to, it makes a lot of sense to be in those types of spaces. And particularly location in the downtowns too. There's a lot of people. 65 is the new 55. Yeah. 65-year-olds when I was growing up, don't look like and aren't as active as 65-year-olds now. And 55 is the new 45. It's the whole go down the line. So I think what you're finding is these housing options work in the downtown area, and there's people spending money on their local businesses, which is so key.
Yes.
So when you see these housing, when housing go in. This is critical stuff. Usually, restaurants will decide where to locate based on, they ask, what's the plans for apartments in the downtown area.
They are asking
that are walkable, because when you're hungry, there's DoorDash and all that extra fee, but sometimes you want to get out, get a little walk. If there's something close by, that will literally, they feed each other. The
symbiosis.
Symbiotic relationship between the new restaurants and the apartments that move into the downtowns. You see it in Farmingdale. You're a Farmingdale guy.
Yep.
I mean, there were 25 vacancies on Main Street before those first two projects by the train station went up. When those got approved, then you started seeing the vacancies fill.
Yeah, let's talk about that with helping those small businesses, because specifically I know that's been a real mission of Vision Long Island, is making sure we build out small businesses rather than see them disappear. Specifically because of online shopping, that's a big problem. In my opinion, I absolutely despise Amazon. I hate those online retailers that have just destroyed small businesses, in my opinion. Right. And I want to see a complete revolution among small businesses. But what's Vision Long Island role in helping small businesses grow and compete? So
good question. I think we got closer to our small business community through the coronavirus. We've always been a part of the Shop Local effort. We did the first press conference in 2005 in downtown Farmingdale with the Nassau Chambers and others to get people to shop local around the holidays, but really all year round. Now it's small business. Now there's up to 60 communities that are doing shop local efforts, and all the chambers coming together on that. So we do that. I think the other thing is we lobby for grants for these guys. You guys, we've been up in Albany. I've seen you there, and we go down to DC too with the SBA to try to get grants and loans available, and also energy efficiency programs for the upgrade of their shops, but also promoting their businesses and their downtowns. And we try to promote their downtowns more. There's really nobody that does that on Long Island with any consistency. So we're trying to get better at that. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. There are a lot of downtowns.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
So we really got strong into that through the coronavirus period.
In every single hamlet across Long Island?
So, yeah, we're a coalition of the willing. If folks don't reach out to us or don't, we're not going to chase people around, right? And sometimes business districts do a wonderful job of promoting themselves. They've got their ads, they've got their digital marketing packages ready, they got their days set. There's a lot of ingenuity and innovation. And when I say we're a community of communities, we literally have communities that are popping and percolating with a calendar of year-round stuff.
Yeah.
And they got it going. They got it ready to go. So they don't need us. But the communities that do need a little extra push, we try to assist. We've hired a guy, Misolino Silva, who goes door to door. He's actually runs the Peruvian Chamber of Commerce also on the side, but he knocks on the doors of businesses that we know don't get these grants. Mostly low, moderate income, working class neighborhoods. And he tells me, he's like, nobody's ever asked them about any of this stuff. They didn't know any about these. They had no clue. See? So when during the pandemic, when Northport, two-thirds of businesses in Northport got very, all the idle loans and all the stuff, the PPP loans and everything, and when 1/3 of the businesses in Winanch got it, there's a disparity because the outreach ain't happening. These people, it's off the grid. They're not reading Newsday. They're not watching News 12. They have different newspapers. There's different websites they're looking at. There's different local papers, and newszines and all these things that they have, and different languages. So it's like, it's different. If they take in information different, so you got to knock on the doors and go to them. And so we have a guy who does this. He's reached out. I think we've hit about 3,000 businesses. I don't know the numbers of how many actually signed up and got. But we've directly connected to 3,000 businesses so far.
That's tremendous.
And I think it's a lot of, and we partner with the African American Chamber, Hispanic Chamber, the New York South Asian Chamber, and all the various local chambers, Winanch Chamber, Hempstead Chamber, Riverhead Chamber, Central Islip Chamber. So we try to hit places that need it most. Manhasset, no disrespect, Manhasset's doing a great job. Yeah. They got the shop local
they got
thing.
The Americana,
they're doing great. They don't need us.
Yeah.
Right? They're crushing it. We're trying to get to the places that need extra little boost, but have things to offer too. And it was great food. Some services and products that you wouldn't experience, and so lots of neighborhoods across Long Island have things to offer. That's one thing I've learned in this job. I'm blessed. It's like the people you meet, in particular the small business community, one of the most resilient,
they're amazing,
talented group of people.
So they're all passionate. The reason why they start is because they have a huge passion in what they're doing, and they wanted to open up their own business to sell whatever items they may have or services they may have or products they may have. Yeah. I find that fascinating. I love it. It was inspiring for me when I was a legislator. I mean, I loved meeting all the different people from all the vast areas. Right. It's incredible to see and hear their stories about, this is my grandmother started this, or my parents started that, or this is something that I always wanted to do, and my second job, and I just left my job to start this and give myself a shot as to never wonder what if or live with regret. I think it's fascinating. I mean, it's really inspiring to hear their stories, and I think what Vision Long Island's doing to help embolden them, really, by getting those support from the federal or state, or just providing that information. I mean, it shows you information is power.
It is. Well, you and I, look, I've seen you at, when you go to Albany and there's all the, the 100 Long Island elite lobbyists that are running around, and or you go to D.C. and you see the people walking the halls there, and you look around and you say, there's not too many people like us there, or like the small businesses we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's not that representation's not in the room. And you scratch your head and you're just like, wow, it's kind of messed up, you know?
Right.
And it brings you to the place. When I think about small businesses, they'll power through that wall to do something for their customer and their staff and their community, because they're the
always
most
there
charitable
donating.
people.
Yeah, always donating.
They give to every little local charity. Anybody
Whatever it is,
comes
soccer
up,
club, baseball, you name it.
They're there.
Yep.
They're there. So these people go through fire for something, and then we're not going to take the extra effort to make sure that they're part of decision making in Albany or Washington or some other important elite place. Really? Is that your final answer? You know, it's a little, you know, blood gushes out of my neck sometimes.
Yeah. Is there a way in the state or down in D.C. where there's representation? I mean, that where they can be involved or the voice, or is that really where Vision Long Island comes to play?
We're part of it. I'm not going to pretend that we're the alpha and omega of this stuff. I think I'm like these things. When there are systemic problems, there's no one magic bullet solution. I think everybody's got to try to make an effort to incorporate voices that aren't at the table into the decision making, and that may not just be small business, right? That may be people who are in need of food, or in need of housing, or or people that are just left out of all decision making. They're not organized in any way. Just think about regular people,
right?
know? So I think we all have to incorporate it into our work, and listen to not the groupthink of the people around you at the cocktail party, or whatever's coming through your phone that's spun through an algorithm one way or another, but to people you deal with face to face. I tell wealthier folks, I was like, talk to the guy who made you food, ask them how their day is. Talk to the person who's caring for your kid. Talk to the person who's driving you. Talk to the person who's cleaning your house. And they don't like when I talk like this, but it's like I'm just hear
this is real.
What the experience is.
This is real.
And the ones that are good to you, known for a lot of years, will be honest with you, And it's funny because some people, when I talk like this to some people, I get in some elite cocktail places, I get two responses. One, like disbelief, like I can't believe people really are hurting out there. Like people, I'm like, yeah, and that's a little scary. That scares me. But I'm like, you're out of touch. That's okay.
Yeah,
doesn't mean you're a bad person.
You're just
still
completely out of
clueless.
touch.
And I've been clueless in my life, and sometimes I'm still very clueless. And then the other group though is like, don't say that. That's not good for business. Don't say that.
It's not good for business.
And I'm like, yeah, all right. You're off my Christmas card list.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the wrong answer, dude.
Right. It's not
wrong answer.
It's not the individual. That's such an individual mindset.
Yeah.
And it's never. There's. I mean.
Not pretty.
No. And it's an African proverb I love, which is, alone you run fast, but together we run far.
Yeah.
And it's
a beautiful one.
It's true though, because it's a true statement where by yourself, sure, you might be good, but eventually you're gonna need people.
Yeah.
Eventually you're gonna need the community, right? You need that support. You're gonna need everyone works together to build each other up. Rising tide lifts all boats, and that's in that concept. That's a. I'm glad you removed that person off your Christmas card because it's a bad mindset, and it's about
not helpful.
And it's not helpful, and it's about making sure we're restoring that parity into our communities and for our island, frankly.
Yeah.
And with building off of that, I know the Long Island Regional Planning Council came out with a great report about parity with Long Island comparatively to the state, and then New York State comparatively to the federal government. And it shows that Long Island sends $15 billion more to the state than it gets back every year.
Right, that's right.
And then New York State sends back $26 billion approximately to the federal government than it gets back every year.
Yeah.
Those are mind-blowing numbers.
Yeah.
Billion. With a B.
Billions.
What's up with that? Why is it? Is it just because of how now the makeup of the state legislature is, or the governor's focus, but for me, I'm looking at it where don't you want, like, where there's tons of money being made, don't you want to spend more money to create more money that can then provide and spend for services? Because eventually what's going to happen is people are looking at it and saying, you guys are just sucking the blood out of us. I mean, eventually and that's what you're seeing, right? People are leaving.
Well, I mean, we have actually gained, strangely enough, people leaving your state, we've actually gained population on Long Island. It's funny.
On Long Island because the people left the city, to come here.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like what was happening in the city, and they're coming in Long Island. But overall, in New York State, we're seeing that exodus. And ultimately, what I want is more infusion. I want more people come from Long Island, but more people going to the city, more people going upstate. Looking at all the benefits of it.
It should all build up as opposed to be parasitic. And I think the problem that we're facing. Look, we're 12% of the population roughly, right? We pay 20% of the taxes, so we understand there's that gap. But we don't.
Yes.
As you know, going through state budgets, we don't get even the 12%. It's one thing if we just got our per capita. We get it as a progressive taxation. If we're a little wealthier, we should pay more. Fair. The problem is we're not even getting our per capita based on our population. We should get a 12% floor,
Right, there's the minimum.
No matter what, like a block grant. Like federal government, you have a block grant. Your population allows you this much money so you can plan, for housing, for this, for that. There's community development block grants. There's environmental block grants. There's all different kinds of block grants.
Yes.
So I'd love to see block grants, and then local people decide how this money's spent. But the point is, we don't get our fair share. So for maybe education, maybe we get 12% because you guys fight hard and get that. But, for transportation, it's usually 10. Economic development, 7 or 8.
Which is
housing's been 3%. Environment has been anywhere, swings from like 3 to 8%, maybe more with this Bond Act. It never feels like, and again, when you're looking at snapshot budget categories in time, this study was good because it looked at all of it, right? Mm-hmm. We only get a chance to look at this program and that program, but no matter how you slice it, you never just break even. So that's the problem, and people are frustrated. They know it, and we all go lobby to get our fair share. We get a few crumbs back, and sometimes don't get me wrong, they're meaningful projects. We want to see them. The money that does come back is usually used well, but it's not enough. And it's just there's not talk about equity. There's not equity there. And it really isn't for our region and for Long Island communities. So we got to do a better job, and I'm really glad Long Island Regional Planning Council put a spotlight on that. And people try to, what's that term that millennials use, gaslight us to tell us that, we're the ones that are, rich and subsidized and all this. And it's like, wait a second, no, we're paying the bills for everybody, and you want to regulate us. How does that make any sense?
Right.
We're paying everybody's bills, and then you're going to regulate us.
We're paying you to tell us what to do.
How's that going to work very long?
And especially Long Islanders, that we don't like that.
No.
Right? If we're paying the bill, we're footing the bill, we're getting the control.
Yeah. I mean, or at least leave us alone. At least leave us alone. It's like, we'll give you more money, but leave us alone.
Yeah.
Thanks. I don't get it.
So how do we as Long Islanders change that? Besides, we're going out to the state, we're going to the federal government, and we're making that information known.
Yeah.
And
this is the first time that there's been real clear numbers on this.
And so those numbers, that transparency.
I think this year this transparency should be helpful in at least moving the needle to some degree, because while we don't have political power in New York State right now because of the various numbers, but I'd say in fairness, any Republican, Democrat, I think the Democratic officials we do have are fighting hard for us. It's hard when New York City controls so much.
I hate that.
Yeah, no, it's tough. And you can't ignore that they have their own set of issues, and they need resources to deal with them. There's got to be some fairness.
It's got to be fairness, and it's got to be where you got to eventually start looking at the welfare of the state in the sense of wellness. Like, don't we want the state to do well? Yeah. Right? We want the state to improve. We want the state not to be the bottom in terms of economic development, in taxes and regulations and fees. Right? We want to have in lifestyle and growth. Like, we want to have it where we're at the top. We should be top 5 in everything. We should be. I mean, we're New York State, where how I look at it is it really still rings true, where if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. I mean, I believe
not
in that
easy. It's not
sentiment.
easy here. Yeah.
It's not easy anymore. It's not easy for for two-parent household to have a family and all. You have to have dual income now. People are looking at how much income then in terms of what you can do, disposable income, what can you spend it on. I mean, the list keeps growing and growing and growing.
Oh, and anybody says there's no inflation. I had these strange conversations. Oh, the economy's really not as bad as you think. It's not. Everything's like 20-25% more.
Yeah.
Everywhere. It's insane.
You have to spend an extra $1,000 a month at a minimum to get to the same level you were last year in terms of level of standard of living.
Right.
An extra $1,000 a month just from like just to be at where you were. So that's obnoxious to hear that, where it's just not true. I mean, and it's just looking. I mean, it goes back to the first person you're talking about, where it's just like people are hurting. Yeah. It's like, what?
Really? It's not that bad.
Yeah, and you know what? But whatever. We can go on a tangent with that. But we're talking about hurting, and not only people hurting economically, but then there's also keeping people safe in their downtowns. And I know that's a real big passion for you with Vision Long Island is pedestrian safety. You mentioned it earlier, and I really want to touch upon that, how you've been really focusing on pedestrian safety, making our dangerous roads safer for pedestrians, people just walking, biking. How have you? What have you seen, and what dangers have been really out there for people, and how have you and Vision Long Island been able to change that?
Yeah, so let's just take a step back for a second on this one, because the most important things for
Us as people who promote downtowns and plan downtowns is, the experience of a downtown is walking. You park your car, now you're going to walk for a bit.
Right.
And you're going to walk through shops. You're going to walk to a park. You're going to walk through a street fair. You're going to walk to a concert or an art gallery or something, cultural thing. Something's going to be happening where you're not driving through a community. You're actually experiencing it with all your senses, And or maybe you're just walking through your downtown for health, or biking for health purposes, or to see a friend, or whatever it is. The point is that type of experience has to be respected. And I think what happens on Long Island, because we've been a car culture for so long, that particularly through coronavirus, more people started using their downtowns for walking and health and biking and everything. And this clash of the car culture meets people walking and biking and experiencing the downtowns, and it's not fun because the experience of driving through community at higher speeds, not caring about people biking or walking or families or seniors or what have you, and then maybe you're distracted on your phone, maybe you're high, it seems everybody's high now, whatever that all is needs to be contained. And so we got to have solutions for our roadways that improve safety. And a lot of that has to do, we always say, with physical design, because you can't have a cop on the corner of every street that has a problem.
Absolutely.
And you can't always control whether people are high. If we wanted to do that, we wouldn't have passed legalization of everything.
Yeah, that's a whole separate story.
So the personal behavior, and then you can't control the sociopaths. There's going to be sociopaths that don't care about anybody in public life. They just care about them, and they don't understand consequences. So that's where you have enforcement. You lock the door, throw away the key. But the thing you can do is you can make, when you have Long Island Expressway wide lanes going through some of these downtowns, and you can narrow them a few feet so it's a little less comfortable to drive fast.
Right.
You can put crosswalks in. You could put medians in so there's less distance for people to cross. You could put better lighting, better signal timing, better street trees, more of gateways. So when you're coming into a community, this is a place where people are walking and biking. This isn't a place that I speed through. And maybe if I want to speed, I take another road.
Right.
I don't go through this neighborhood and drive in a reckless manner.
Right, because it will be inconvenient to do so.
Yeah, it's just not
that's
comfortable.
That's what you're doing, yeah.
So we try to go, it's called traffic calming, solutions. So to get the speeds down, because speed's the number one contributor to crashes and death. And for example, we work with AARP. We do these walking audits. We walk around neighborhoods with seniors, and we, with wheelchairs and walkers and canes, and and we find out, we measure, we got the speed guns out. You know, it's a whole experience. We've done about 20 of these, and we issue a report, you know, and we see where there are problems with the roads design, and we see how fast drivers are driving as a result of the designs. And there are solutions that can be, some of them it's as cheap as just paint, restriping.
Really?
You know, this is not expensive stuff, some of this. And so, and it's funny, the federal government actually wants more of this stuff. It's our state government, our county government. A lot of them are run by, you know, older engineers who, nice people, nice career people, good-hearted people, I'm sure. But they were trained in 70s style auto planning, which is you have a car, and you drive as fast as you can, and the lane should be wide, and you should have a lot of sight distance so that get rid of the trees and just see as much ahead of you, because the whole world revolves around the car.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the thinking. Everything else is messy and has to be controlled. And the whole new world is, well, if we're really going to have people walking and biking around, they have a say too, and they need to be protected and respected, and the cars need to be, not get rid of the cars, just gotta slow it down a little bit.
Right.
Gotta right size it.
What about like speed bumps or speed
tables,
speed humps? I've seen the humps.
Yeah, some of those are good solutions. You know, they can be sometimes noisy for folks that may be living right there. They hear da-dum every day. You know,
okay.
That's it. Sometimes that's an issue. Sometimes the fire guys don't like that, and the snow plows don't like those.
Okay.
But it depends on where. There's places where it makes perfect sense. I think there are things you could do. Really, the best thing is the crosswalks, good countdown timers, narrower lanes, and really just tamping down on the speed through physical designs. You don't always need to do the speed humps, but you could those have been applied. There's so many different. There's no one way to design the road, right?
Right.
It really depends on. It's tailored. Engineers that are trained in this. We have a lady on our staff, Alyssa Kyle, who helps do these designs, and you can make these work so that you can still drive, and not lose any time in your day. You're just driving slower. You're not racing from stoplight to stoplight anymore. You're just steadily driving, and people can walk safely. Roundabouts too. I don't know if you've seen those.
Yes, I have.
They're smaller, they're like mini traffic circles. They're great for the flow of traffic.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
So those go in some places too. We've got about 40 traffic calming projects across the island that have been implemented that have reduced speeds. We need to do a whole lot more, and that's the issue. If you saw Newsday did 3 cover stories over the last year about this kind of scourge of pedestrian and bike deaths, and again, it's not all. There are, like I said, there are people high and there are people drinking and all that kind of enforcement. You need to do that. Nobody's saying stop that stuff, but the other thing is solutions. I don't know. There's a lot of people who don't want to do the physical stuff, the design changes. They would just want to put speed cameras up, and we're not like that. Just penalizes working class people. I find to get more bills in their mail. I'm not saying I'm not completely against speed cameras, but I'd rather see the physical changes in the roads first, because that works 24/7.
Because you're changing. It looks at it as you're putting stitches on the wound instead of the Band-Aid. Right? You're really healing the issue, as opposed to just the speed cameras. Yeah, the person blows by, up gets dinged, but they're never going to change their mindset.
Nope.
But meanwhile, what you're doing is when they enter that village, you're changing their mindset.
If you try to drive down in Northport Village is an example I use because I live up there, but you can't drive more than 20 miles an hour down that main street without feeling ridiculously uncomfortable.
See,
it's just you're just like, you see someone driving. Someone's driving like 30 because I started yelling at him. He's like, "I'm doing the speed limit," because I yelled at him at the end of the block, and I'm like, "Dude." It seemed like you were drag racing down here. Like, what are you doing? He's like, but the speed limit's so I'm like, look at your surroundings. He was just totally out of touch. Most people are really, you can't do more than 20. And that's a place where a lot of people are walking around. But, again, there's a culture there in that community of people start talking to someone who's going a little too fast. It's old school, It's like, what? Hey, stop, what are you doing? There's people walking. Come on, you know.
I'm laughing because I'm just picturing you just doing like classic New York with the exactly. It's like it's people walking here, you know.
No, but you know, I wish more people were like that. Like we need to get involved in our communities, and like there needs to be responsibility, accountability, place-based to our community, to our neighbors. Like these are old school values, man. You have those traditional. That's what I like about the Republican Party is these traditional values that but bring those out into a place-based context. You know, because sometimes it gets all in these national issues and Trump and this and that and that. Bring it back down into community of caring to each other. You know, and that's when there's accountability, there's responsibility, and you know when you talk about quality of life. Yeah, people shouldn't be driving crazy speeds around their neighbors.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's been great. I mean, it's awesome how Vision Long Island is touching on all these different issues and really bringing them not only to light within our federal and state government, but then also executing within the localities and really leading by action. And I admire that, where it's not just all these conversations are followed by all what you've done. Right. I've done this 20 times. Been to 60 different alternative housings. I've gone here into these different communities. I've helped out with Shop Local, and I love that about you, Eric. It's truly been inspiring. To admire what you've done over the years and build out Vision Long Island.
Well, thank you for that. But I will have to say when you say what we've done, I have to say this: you're only as good as the people around you, and if we did not have real civic leaders, real chamber leaders and small business leaders, real developers who invested in communities when they were kind of like, well, I don't know if this is going to work, and you know, to build these affordable units or to build in this neighborhood, or we didn't have some local elected officials who just take an difficult issue on their back and push it through, or we didn't have people who run food pantries in a volunteer manner and serve people around the clock. We didn't have all these great local examples of, really just good community work. I'm just the guy that gets to spotlight it and help bring some resources, definitely, and maybe help start some things. But it really is a compendium of people from end to end across Long Island who've done just amazing work. So we're just, we're blessed to be part of it. It's a humbling thing every day.
Well,
because you go somewhere and someone's doing something amazing. Oh my God, this is so cool.
Well, I'm blessed to have you on this show. I really appreciate it immensely. You coming on, highlighting all you do and what the community does together. Yeah. As I said, I mean, alone you run fast, but together we run far. And you just really highlighted it. So, Eric, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm looking forward to seeing what you have in the upcoming year. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it.